Everybody should be recording again. Okay, you can hear us, right? I'm good. Yep, okay. All right, I'm going to turn it over to Coach for an opening statement, and then I know you guys are all organized in the chat for your order for questions.
All right, good to get back, start playing again. Excited about that. Nebraska is obviously the next one up, and glad that that was able to get worked in this week. Again, a team that's been very busy since their COVID return. Played well last night, lost a tough one to Wisconsin. Very, very athletic team, great size and length, and a team that really scares you because of their ability to draw fouls, their ability to get to the line, and then they've got several guys who can get going making baskets. So they mix up their defenses, man, zone. They do a good job of taking the interior play away. I would expect nothing different. Trying to take Kofi away. In their last two games, their opponents have taken a ton of threes against them as they tried to negate some of the interior play of those teams. But we've got to be smart. We can't fall into a trap of shooting 35 threes on the road and still do what we do. But Fred's building a great program there, and they've got talented players, and obviously the COVID setback was a lengthy one, and now just getting back. And but we're, from our standpoint, a couple days off this week, and then get back and surrounded by some days that we've been able to work and get better. And now we're in game prep mode and leave here in a little bit.
Coach, I'm curious about the Michigan cancellation and Illinois' involvement in that, or if you had a choice. For example, Michigan's returned on Monday. The women's team is playing tonight, but their men's team chose not to. Is that their choice? Is that on the Big Ten? Are you involved in that decision? How does that work?
Yeah, I'm not involved at all. Everything's COVID related, I think, and in terms of what's best for every program. And I think I think we found out that everybody's independent of whatever on their own and how they're dealing with it. We've seen that throughout the country. So I wasn't involved. I'm deferring everything to the league office, and I'm just showing up when they tell us to show up and play who we play when we're supposed to play them. So we knew it's going to be a different year, a challenging year, sometimes an unfair year. I don't know if everybody will get to 20 games, but I'm not going to worry about any of that. I'm just going to show up and play when they tell us to.
And do you have any, is there a certain breaking point with that where if you're, because of other cancellation, asked to play 5 games in 9 days or something at the end of the year, is there a cry uncle moment, or is it just you play when you play?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see when we get to that. We'll cross that when we get to it. Right now, we're happy to be playing. I don't think we should ever lose sight of safety and well-being. I think that runs in a lot of areas, not just COVID, but the safety and well-being of our student athletes and the times that we would ask them to play and the number of games we would ask them to play. But now we're back into school where academics are a part of it as well. So, we'll cross all those bridges when we come to them, Robert.
Thanks.
Hi, Coach. We just spoke with Adam. Could you talk a little bit about his development as a player and specifically offensively? What would you kind of like to see from him to take another step forward?
Yeah, I think he's fallen into a role that is good. He's going to be a guy that's going to be capable of so much more when required of, and I think he's been able to ease into the overall game and understanding. Adam's really talented. He's a guy that can score in a lot of ways. I think, is there an adjustment? Absolutely. Most of that comes with adjusting your game off the dribble and getting to the rim. You don't do that stuff like you did in high school. It's a completely different level. The scouting piece, He's got a great mid-range pull-up. He's got, he's a very, very good shooter. He demands a lot of respect. But his true growth has been on the defensive side. And, he's become one of those guys that I trust as a very, very good defender. And Ace is going to be a great two-way player in his career, the guy who can really do it at both ends of the court. So great passer, has got great vision, high IQ, and a guy that again is really blossoming in. He's no longer a freshman. He's blossoming into a veteran college basketball player.
As the seasons went along, you've kind of added the option to go to a bigger lineup, whether it's Kofi and Georgie playing together or Jacob in the starting lineup. What's that done for your team? And does it allow you to match up a little bit better with teams with some size?
Yeah, no doubt. I love versatility. That's one of the advantages of being able to do that. Slide DeMonte. You can play Ayo, Ayo at the point. You can play, Jake and DeMonte and Georgie and Kofi and be as big as we can be or close to it, with Coleman. Coleman can slide and play a little three as well. So that versatility is something I'm really pleased with.
Thank you, Coach.
Brad, I wanted to follow up on Adam defensively. I mean, you talked about how that's the biggest adjustment for freshmen to make in college basketball. How have you seen him take those steps to become, really a pretty good defender here so far?
Well, one of it's just the challenge and the pride of wanting to be a good defender. Secondly, there's a lot of responsibility because, in a world today where everything is a ball screen coverage, there's calls that have to be made and there's adjustments that have to be made literally on every play and multiple times on a play. And when you're a guard, you have to trust your bigs and then you have to make an immediate reaction to a call. And that takes time. That's not easy. And, I go back to the Baylor game. I mean, Adam made 10 ball screen mistakes in the Baylor game. And, great coaching by Scott, pick on the freshman. And those mistakes then stress everybody else out. Now he doesn't make any. And again, that's just time. And that's one of the things that, I talk about defensive chemistry all the time. That's why it's so important to have that. And yet he's way ahead of the curve for most freshmen. And, he's got great pride. He takes a great challenge. He wants to guard Ayo. He wants to guard Trent. He wants to guard those guys every day and takes a lot of pride in trying to shut them out. So, now we've put the mental and the physical together and it's turning into a heck of a defender.
And he kind of touched on that too, where he said the first maybe 10 games, he was kind of lost and looking around on that end a little bit to figure out what he needed to do. As a coach, how do you help him through all phases of that? Does it come from some of his teammates? Is it all the above? How do you get him to that?
all the above. It's experience, it's reps, it's game situations. You don't, it's especially hard for guards because they have so much, you start looking over your shoulder, where's the screen coming? At this level, the defender goes right by you as soon as you peek. You have to trust your teammates. And that's why I talk about chemistry on the defensive side all the time. And then, there's off the ball issues. His reactions off the ball early were slow and late. And, it's one of those things. Again, it's just it's repetition, it's experience, and now he's getting great at it.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Coach, we've talked with you about peaking this time of year. I think people look at the Wisconsin game, the way you guys got up, held the lead, seemed like a pretty complete performance. What are some things maybe other than 15 dunks from Kofi that you're still looking to improve upon and get to that next level for this team?
Well, I thought offensively, 18 turnovers against Wisconsin, and that's no offense to them. We fumbled 6 balls where it just hit our hands, and we weren't clean. We 2 guys played really well. We didn't play very well as a team in terms of the cleanness and execution and timing, and we've got to continue to get better in our reads. No matter what the defense sees, we have seen everything now. And we've got to understand, and our ball screen coverage, where the tags are coming from, where the low holds are, who they're tagging off of, and start making those reads. We're 7th in the country in OER. There's still room to improve there. Baseline out of bounds, big concern because Kofi draws so many fouls. We have a lot of baseline outs. We've got to be better there. We've got to continue our free throw shooting. And then on the defensive side, we've made great strides there. We're 13th in DER now. That needs to be top 10 to get where we're going. And we have to continue. We're still making some rotation mistakes. So you ask, that's kind of the synopsis which we've talked about all week with these guys.
Another late tip on the road. You talked about long days in the hotel. I don't know if you're jumping on the gaming systems with the guys. You walking in a high of 0 in Lincoln. What are you doing to pass the time?
Well, this one won't be a walk outside. I promise you that. We'll find a sterile treadmill someplace that we can go get on. But yeah, and I'm the worst. I do not do well in hotel rooms. It drives me nuts sitting in there. I can only watch so much film. We're not leaving till 5 o'clock tonight just to get in there later for that reason. But you have to get in there. You've got to test. You've got your shoot around. So the day goes fairly quick. But we haven't graduated to the gaming systems yet. But I'll have to get some Call of Duty lessons from Tyler.
Thanks, Coach.
Hey, Brad, before the season even began, you said your best player was your most improved player. What jumped out at you about Ayo right from when he returned to campus? And then are you at all surprised by the year he's having?
Well, I knew how much he prepared and worked when he was trying to make the decision and go through the process. And most players in America weren't doing that, and he was. And so I felt really positive that there would be a jump. Then when you start to see him, kid that came in at 172 pounds, now he's 205. Now you see a young guy that couldn't bench 185, and you see him, throw it up for 18, 20 times. You see a kid that literally couldn't barely dunk a ball when he got here, now dunking on people in games. I mean, there's just a maturity and a readiness that he had. And then, I always say this, your junior and senior year in college is the only opportunity you have to play against your peers at your maximum level. And I mean that both mentally and physically. And, as soon as you declare for a pro, you're playing against LeBron, who's 35, or he's against his peers and he's playing at a max level. And that confidence is undeniable.
We've had a couple of mid-major players in the area announce that they're coming back for another senior year. Have you broached that subject with Monte and Trent? Do you have a gauge of what they're going to do, and does that affect your recruiting at all, or do recruits want to know?
Nebraska. Nebraska.
Well done. Thank you, Coach.
Brad, Ayo's triple-double will go down as one of the best individual performances in team history. What about his defense in that game? Is that overlooked? I think he was shifting around and seemed to be shutting guys down. Is that just add to the completeness of that game?
Yeah, I think it's one of the things that I told Ayo yesterday in practice. I said, don't run away from success. The 12 rebounds, the guarding, that made the game look easy. And when you do those things, it's amazing how the game just finds you. And it finds Ayo very easily on the offensive end when he's doing those other things. He becomes a one-man fast break. He's a guy that has the capability at his size now to go get double-digit rebounds. And then he's got length to guard. So that's the challenge with Ayo. Don't worry. You don't have to. He never has to worry about the other end. And that the game will find him when he does all those other things, and it's just a natural thing for him. That was an easy triple-double because it didn't stand out. I mean, I had no clue. Usually I'm pretty dialed in, and I'm not a big stat sheet guy during a game, but I had no clue till Derek told me after the game.
Wow. Defensively, the team is doing very well by and large by a lot of defensive categories. One that isn't there is turnovers forced. Does that even matter, given how you're defending field goals and obviously winning ball games?
Well, I think there's a correlation there between when you start looking at fouls committed and you start looking at defensive rebounding. And, could we get out and force more turnovers? Yeah. I mean, I think we were second in the country a couple of years ago in turnovers forced, and we couldn't get a rebound, and all we did was foul. So I'll take the trade-off we've got going right now, for that. And, yeah, would I like to force one or two more? Yeah, but not at the expense of getting in rotations and sacrificing other areas that we're really good at.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad. I wanted to ask you about Ayo's 3-point shot, and it seems like he's made a pretty big jump from last year percentage-wise. What do you think he's done? What have you seen him do? Has he changed a lot to improve that, or do you think it's more up here?
Practice. And again, he worked, we forget the line moved back a year ago. We forget that, he spent all the offseason really working from the NBA line, on practicing those reps. That's helped. I think the mental component of knowing that he's spent so much time at that NBA line has helped. And I think the other factor is he's taken really good shots. He's not getting forced into having to take and settle for difficult shots. So you put all that together and you're going to see him increase percentages. And I knew it was a matter of time, but I knew he'd improve at least 6, 8, 9%, somewhere in there.
Then you had a bunch of conference title winning teams at Stephen F. Austin. Obviously last year's team was competing down the stretch for a Big Ten title. What do you think you've learned as a coach in your experience about what teams need to accomplish down the stretch to win a conference title?
Never get ahead of themselves. One day at a time, one game at a time. And, every game is its own identity, its own challenges and self. And Ayo's triple doubles in the past, it was a great thing. Nebraska is going to pose different scenarios. And so we've got to handle those and manage those and never continue to lose sight of, we got to get better every day.
Thanks.
Hey, Brad, how much does no hesitation, Trent, as Ayo puts it, help this team offensively?
A lot. Yeah, a lot. I mean, it gives you a guy capable of getting 30, and a guy capable of making 3, 4, 5, 6 threes in a row. And, now you start to figure out, where you're going to tag and who you're going to help off of. And, Trent gives us that burst and explosion in transition. So yeah, that's he's in a good place. That's for sure. And we like Trent when he's like that.
I know you've talked a little bit about, when you recruited him when you're still at SFA, but what do you remember about, I guess maybe high school junior Trent in relation to kind of the player he's become now?
Well, he's become a much better all-around player. I know that. Trent was just a guy who was a volume shooter who scored a bunch of balls and you admired his athleticism. He's turned into a well-rounded elite defender. And a guy who can do more than just, play with the ball, dribble it 8 times and then shoot a shot and make it, and that's what he was a lot in high school. So, his game's enhanced in every area.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, quick one for you. Is this harder on coaches or players when you have a game scheduled like this mid-season?
I think the players come and, they're young, they take it in the right perspective. And, and again, I think it's harder for coaches. I mean, it was challenging after the Wisconsin game. My staff didn't know who to go to work on. and we didn't know till Monday night. And so, you're just, probably us, I tend to like to want to know things. And when you don't, you can't plan, and that frustrates me.
Thanks, Brad.
Hey, Coach, just a quick follow-up on what I asked you before about playing big. Georgie started a lot of games at the 4 last year, struggled a little bit, but he was coming in and playing that position in spots now. What has he done to improve there and be able to play along with Kofi?
Well, I think it's not just what he's done. I think it's what our team has done. I think it's helped enhance his minutes there. We're obviously shooting the ball better as a collective unit. Last year, the floor got really compact because we didn't. And then when you put Georgie out there, teams dared him to shoot it. So he's able to pick his spots better because there's more space. He's an elite passer. He's a guy that we can run post-ups to and have a lot of matchups at the 4 that we really like in those areas. So, I think we're collectively better as a team, which helps his play at that spot as well.
And just a quick follow-up on Adam, what I asked you about him. Looking at the stats, a very high percentage of his shots are coming from 3. Are you okay with that, or do you want to see him get to the rim more?
Both, but I want it to be, he's very capable, off the bounce, and yet he's got to be comfortable doing that. I'm comfortable with him, and it's a two-way street, and this is not an easy league to get the ball to the rim in, because everybody's camped at the blocks and elbows and the nail, and it's hard to do that. But I'm not discouraging him. He made a big time drive the other night in the Wisconsin game, got fouled. I like that. I like Adam getting to the free throw line. He's a good free throw shooter. And that part I would like to see go up.
Thank you.
Hey, Brad, you talked about the work that Ayo put in that has translated to the success. Him and Kofi both named to the Naismith Trophy midseason team. Looking at Kofi, though, have you seen that same work really come through? And sometimes do you kind of have to sit back, and does it really impress you that he's a guy that's only played basketball for 5-6 years and has already gotten to the level that he's at?
Yeah, I mean, Kofi's playing like an All-American. I mean, there's no doubt about that. I think he's moved into top 10 in efficiency. I think he's become a guy that hasn't always been, but becoming dominant and understanding what that takes to do that. And I think he's doing that even though everybody's trying to make it really hard for him. And but he had an abbreviated offseason. There's no doubt he was home in New York, and that no place was hit worse than New York. And didn't get to work, didn't have a gym, didn't have a weight room. Really lost an off season in terms of some of the things we wanted to work with him with, but he's made up for that since he's been back. And we got to continue to he gets an individual workout every day with O. Continues to try to refine and keep working on his game, and it's a tribute to him and our coaches for what they've done to help him get where he's gotten in a quick amount of time.
Thanks, Brad.
All right, that's all we have for Coach today. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, guys.